is 10 p.m. Do you know where your Scott Schiaffo is? Welcome to another jam action-packed edition of David Lee Madison's The End of the Night. I, of course, am the clown who runs this circus, David Lee Madison, and right here, my dear friend, co-host, producer, legend in his own mind, Mr. Joe Ridgely. Mr. Ridgely, how are you, my friend?
The legend in his own mind is fantastic. Thank you for asking. How are you?
You're very, very welcome. I don't know, you didn't say, thank you, so I don't know why I said you're welcome. I'm in a very weird, kind of grouchy, get off my lawn kind of mood tonight. So I'm going to apologize to everybody beforehand because I'm just a grouch sometimes. It happens. Groucho Marx built a legacy, became an icon by being grouchy, I guess. But you know what's funny? Groucho Marx wasn't actually very grouchy. Even the parts he played weren't overly grouchy. Hello to Have Cheetah Will View. Good evening.
I've got a story about that.
Okay.
In a second.
Okay. Good evening, Ken. I hope you're well. Go ahead.
So, Have Cheetah Will View is a very nice gentleman. The name is eluding me at the moment, and I apologize. But he contacted me, and he's like, hey, I want to help promote you guys. How about you guys from all the network shows come on at separate times, and I'll promote your shows.
Oh, sweet.
And a little Q&A, and so, yes, that was very cool of him.
That's very nice, Mr. Have Cheetah Will View. I was wondering if you notice, there's been a lot of Dave hate lately. So I was wondering
it started last week. What the hell?
It happened it was the last two shows. I'm trying to wonder whose wife I slept with this time that got somebody upset.
I mean, there was more than one in the past few weeks?
Yeah, there was one by George Carnaby last week. And then there was one by Noel Garland the week before.
Wow.
So
you pissed in their Cheerios, huh?
I have this uncanny ability to make people really, really love me.
I don't know. I kind of like you.
Somebody has to. Patrick. His name's Patrick. Hi, Patrick.
Yes,
Patrick. If you have a show, I would love to be on. That would be.
And his show is Have Cheetah Will View. And I actually discussed this with him earlier. It was a play on an old show, Have Gun Will Travel.
Oh, sweet. I remember that show.
See, I don't. I told him it was a little ahead of my time, I think. But
I think it's a little before your time.
That's what I meant.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I meant.
The Jetsons would be a little ahead of
I was getting ahead of myself. See, that's what we do here.
And he's looking forward to he's the one. There's actually one person who's looking forward to this.
Well, there's Sean also.
This lovely trip. Hi, Sean. I hope you're well. Everything is good with you, and you're happy and healthy. You know, tonight we're going to have. Hey, Jamie. Tonight we're going to have a beautiful actress, super talented musician, and a great author, and a dear friend of mine for many, many years. Miss Lisa Ellex will be joining us in just a few minutes or so. I'm super excited.
I got to tell everybody else who isn't aware who Jamie is, especially if Lisa doesn't know who Jamie is. Jamie was starred in an indie horror film that made it to the national theaters and everything, Skinamarink. And she's also part of the Indie Escape Network now, co-hosting a show with Wendy.
Yeah, I know. Hi, Jamie. I know who she is.
Well, I know you do.
Okay. Another thing. Last week, We had an absolute icon on, a legend, and it was one of our best shows ever. He was like,
Oh, yeah.
he rocked me with how quick witted and how just what an outrageously great interview he was. We had John Biner on last week, and we had such a good time. We were literally laughing nonstop for an hour, and we forgot one of the main reasons he wanted to come on to our show was to talk about his new book. So if you get a chance and you think John Biner is funny, because like who doesn't is probably a better question. Guy is literally a legend. His new book, 5 Minutes with Mr. Biner, is available at like Amazon and all Barnes and Noble, anywhere that you can purchase a book. You could find 5 Minutes with Mr. Biner. He's absolutely book is laugh out loud funny. And he is just a great guy.
Oh,
so
I mean, the bottom of the book, a lifetime of laughter. I mean, no kidding. The guy had us in stitches.
He was, he was like, I went back and rewatched the show, and he was literally running circles. He's like, I think he's like 83 or 84 years old, and he was running circles around us three buffoons with how clever and how funny
and how quick-witted he was.
Quick-witted
I couldn't keep up with
it. It was absolutely astonishing. So, Joe, what's cooking on the network? Is there anything we need to know?
Network. We got a couple of shows coming up, but one of the major things is, which I kind of love to discuss, is, the Indie Escape is getting out to these conventions and everything. So September, ladies and gentlemen, anybody in the Orlando area, come see the Indie Escape Network. Come see Harlow's Haunt at Phantasm, a paranormal and horror convention. There are going to be so many horror celebrities there. Night of the Demons, they're having a reunion there. So that's going to be pretty cool.
That's funny, because I think I'm at a con in South Carolina that weekend with Tiffany Shepis of all people.
I wasn't invited for something. No, I'm kidding.
What?
I wasn't invited.
Oh, I'm not throwing it. I'm just a clown who's going to it. If I was throwing it, I'd invite you. You think I'm like the ruler of all conventions?
Well, yeah, since you have one.
Yes. If I ever am stupid enough to do that again, I will gladly and certainly have you on board.
Oh, it's very discouraging for other people who want to do
so that you can join in the anguish and the pain and the suffering. Well, you know what, Joe? I always try to do something that's different or bigger than what people are used to. So in my infinite wisdom, I decided to have a horror convention in an Old West horror town theme park that literally had shows running every hour. So you had people walking through town to come into the buildings to meet the celebrities while like the headless horseman was riding by and people were shooting at him. And it was like absolutely epic. But it was a lot more difficult to negotiate and navigate than sitting around in like a hotel lobby or hall and having pipe and drape and saying hi to Tom Savini for the 900th time.
And get the cold shoulder.
Yeah, and get the cold shoulder. I'll talk to you if you buy a $5 bumper sticker. Hi, Lena, I hope you. You have to have faith for this plural. So I will tell you though, at that particular show, Grunkle Scott Schiaffo and Kevin Van Hentenryck, the great actor, and Nicholas Brendan and Brian O'Halloran all jumped on stage and did an impromptu rock jam, and it was literally the stuff of legend. Absolutely the stuff of legend. With that being said, let's pull up our lovely brother, our co-host, our pal, our dear friend.
The best-looking guy on the show.
The best-looking guy on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Grunkle Scott Schiaffo.
You guys, man.
How are you?
I'm good. I tell you, man, you're being super kind with the praise. Something's up.
Yes, we got the test results.
You'd be borrowing money from me. Hey, Ken.
I couldn't. Oh, Basket Case. That's the series that Kevin's from. For some reason, it eluded me. And you know what? It sucks. When I was young, I was sharp, and all this shit would just come to me quickly. But now it's like, It's literally like there's a thunderstorm going on right here, and nothing connects anymore.
So
Wait, I'm sorry, brother. Are you saying what last week you felt like you were, or in general?
No, just in general. Just general malaise. Just getting old. Out to lunch.
Brother, I listen, man. I'm having a pretty rough.
John Biner is sitting somewhere right now laughing his ass off at us for complaining about being old. He literally told us that on the show.
He literally dished out.
He literally told us that we're schmucks, and I couldn't agree with him more.
So where were you guys? I gotta ask a quick question. Like when you had your conventions and everything, I saw a picture of you guys with sombreros. Was that from one of your conventions?
No, that was from a convention in Pittsburgh called Sci-Fi in the Valley Convention. And every time me, Brian, and Scott would do that, we did it like 3 or 4 times together. And every time we did that, we would go to this amazing Mexican restaurant with the kindest and most wonderful people. And every time we would go in there, they would just feed us tons of food, and at the end they would just ask us to take a stupid picture with their sombreros on, and we just thought it was so. Every year I did the show for I think 10 consecutive years. I would go over with celebrity pals, and we would make pictures of. I think there's one of us has 9 of us all with the sombreros on. It was Jim Crott and Mark Tierno. I think Scott was there that night.
Yeah, that's one I remember too.
Yep. So that was a pretty. That was an epic thing. The Wild West City one was strange because it was so many buildings involved, and it was such a big space, and there were so many other shows going on. But I will never forget the closing night when Scott and the boys jammed. It was really the stuff of legend. That was pretty epic.
That was a really amazing night for me. That was closing night? That wasn't the Saturday night?
I'm pretty sure that was the Sunday event, but I'm not 100% sure. It was either Saturday or Sunday. No, I guess Sunday ended early, so it must have been Saturday. It was a Saturday.
Yeah, I thought it was. I mean, it was really awesome.
Saturday night event.
Really
And, you
great.
know what's so cool? Right in the middle of the old western town, it looks like Carson City. They had like a big, like a hall, and it looked like a barn. And the guys were on stage, and they literally opened up like barn doors, and they started jamming. In front, the whole Main Street was filled with people. It was pretty fantastic. I remember
That was an epic jam for sure.
Yep. All right, let's not keep our lovely and super talented guest waiting. Lisa Ellex is a really, really fine actress. In fact, I will talk to her about this in just a minute. Her and I were in the same movie, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. And she's a wonderful musician, a writer, a stage actress, a stage director. Her list of accomplishments go on. And I think she's unfortunately been friends with me for over a decade now, so I feel really bad for Lisa. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Lisa Ellex.
Hi, everybody. Hi.
How are you?
Hello.
I'm terrific. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm just plugging along here. You know what sucks, Lisa? You probably don't know this because you are young and vibrant and beautiful and got everything going on. When you get to be old and crotchety like I am, things just don't seem to work as well as they used to.
Oh, come on. Why do you say that? Like what?
Like everything. I don't want to go any further.
Oh,
because you'll lose all respect for me.
No.
You know, Lisa, you know what's really cool? And you and I think you know this, we might have talked about it once, but you and I were in a film with the late, great
Brad Davis?
Brad Davis from, what was his big one? Midnight something?
Midnight Run.
No, he wasn't
Not Midnight Run. That was Robert De Niro. Midnight Express.
Midnight Express. I think was that movie up for an Oscar, I think? He might have even been.
Might have been.
Yeah, and Lisa and I were in this great movie that was shot in all places of Ridgewood, Queens. What was that, Lisa, about 35, 40 years ago now?
Oh, my God. Wait a second. It was 1986. How long ago is that?
96. That's almost 40 years ago, right?
That's scary, huh?
Yeah, almost 40 years ago.
Well, obviously she wasn't old enough to act then, so what the
Yeah,
hell?
no. Here's the thing. I was a grown up in the movie, but I believe you were a child actor. Am I right?
I was 15. I played a guy who was kind of acting like a thug inside the stands of the big boxing match where he had at the end. What was really cool is Brad Davis in that movie was fighting Billy Costello, who was like a big super champion at the time. But you know what was also cool about that movie, Lisa? It was Steve Buscemi's first movie.
It was. I remember that. And
Wow. What's the name of the movie?
Heart.
called Heart.
Just called Heart?
Just Heart. And
Wow.
it's a real heavy boxing movie. I mean, yeah, it's a psychological, true Brad Davis style. But your scene was shot in Queens? Dave?
At the Ridgewood Grove Arena.
My scene was shot in the Bronx at the what do they call the market? The produce market, the big Hunts Point market. Because in the movie, Brad Davis, his day job was he operated like the high-lows in the market.
Mm-hmm.
And I played his boss's secretary.
I know you're most of your parts are right in the beginning of the movie, correct?
Very close to the beginning. Yeah, it really is. It really is. And it was my first like speaking role in a movie, and it was, and film is just so different from stage. It still scares me. Film still scares me. And the scene was I'm typing, and Brad Davis comes in, he punches out, and he has a conversation with the boss, and then. We do it over and over and over again. And I can't see. He's on my right. I can't see. And he's coming in, and we're doing it over and over. And I don't know where I got the balls. Excuse me. I said, gee, I want to see what he's doing when he walks in. And I stop my action, and I just sit there. And I'm watching him. His camera was on him. And he got, rightfully so, he got a little upset, and he pulled the director aside. He said, "Can you tell her not to do that, to be in the scene?" But I never did that again. I never did that again.
You know what's so weird about that movie? It's like the hardest movie in the world to find. I don't think it's like anywhere.
It's true.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is true. That's interesting. Maybe get in touch with
James
Red
Lemo.
Jurgensen produced that. I don't know if Jimmy Lemo.
Yeah.
No, I thought Buscemi's first thing was something called Longtime Companion.
I'm pretty sure that Heart. Well, do you know when Longtime Companion came out?
Early 80s, yeah.
Yeah.
This came out. This took a while to get released.
Yeah, because I think it came out in '85, but I remember shooting it in like
87.
Oh, 85?
Came out
87
in
came out?
87?
Yeah. So then maybe we shot it in 85?
Probably, maybe.
That sounds about
yeah.
right.
Wow. Now I got to try to get a hold of this film.
Oh, you got to see it. Oh, and what's her name? Clint Eastwood's wife. Wow, we can't remember names.
Sandra Locke?
No, the second one.
Oh.
Well, the one he's married to now.
Francis
Oh, I don't know.
Fisher.
Yeah. Oh, Frances Fisher. Frances
Okay.
Fisher.
Oh, she's
Isn't
married to
it?
Clint Eastwood?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plays Brad Davis's.
Genie is what it
Oh,
says.
okay.
I think.
Yeah.
You know what's so funny? The two movies I made as a kid that you actually get to see my face are like the two hardest movies to ever find. Hero
What's
at
the-
Large, which is a freaking John Ritter movie, which you can't find anywhere. And
What's it
Heart,
called?
Hero at Large.
Oh, I've heard of that. Sure.
Yeah, it's where John Ritter plays a superhero, and then in real life stops a deli from being robbed and becomes a superhero in real life. And I played the little kid who goes up to him at the movie theater and asks for his autograph.
And you would think with all the streaming possibilities we have out there that these
Yeah.
movies would be on somewhere.
Yes.
But wait, I am going to post a comment right now. And give me a second. It is actually on
It's
YouTube.
on YouTube. The movie Heart is on YouTube?
The whole movie?
Sweet.
hmm
Wow, look at that.
Yep. I just found it.
All right, enough with that silliness. I apologize, Lisa, for bringing you back to that train wreck.
No, that was I mean, God, I got to work. I got to watch Brad Davis work. It was great. And I forgot. Sometimes I forget. Thanks for reminding me.
So, Lisa, tell me a little bit about who inspired you when you were a little girl, as far as wanting to be an entertainer.
First thing I remember ever wanting to do was sing. Like, I just wanted to be a singer. That's all. I wanted to be a big band singer for the longest time. And then I didn't have aspirations to be an actress until much later. I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a singer. I wanted to make commercials. Like, when I was little, I used to learn the TV commercials and then recreate them, and then I would rewrite them. But I love ads. I love commercials. I love ads. So that kind of inspired me. And I guess my mother figured out I was a ham or something like that, and she sent me really early. The Lee Strasberg Theater Institute had a young people's program.
Wow.
Yeah, and she sent me at like 15.
That's
16.
awesome.
So there wasn't like any one like known entertainer that you gravitated to as a kid?
No, more so a singer than an actress, I think. Honestly.
Or what singer was it?
The older big band singers, Anita O'Day and Nancy Wilson.
Oh, I love Nancy Wilson. She has the best Christmas song ever.
Wow.
And I guess it's the ladies that my mom's records. And then later on, of course, Bette Midler. And then it took a turn, and I started singing in the clubs and the cabarets and things like that. And
you were a fan of Lena Horne?
I am a fan of Lena Horne.
She's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
now, I know that you also got to work on some wonderful television programs. Was it Comedy Central?
Oh yeah, I mean that was the dream job, honestly. That I got called on. I don't know how I can't even remember how it happened. To start up the channel, and we were a department of. They called us the Clippers, and HBO Time Life owned all of this material. They owned every stand-up that they had produced. Was in their library. All the old movies that weren't copyrighted, even any movie that they were licensing. So we had this endless library, and we had to pick 3-minute clips. That was our job. And if you remember the Comedy Channel way back then, the beginning, all they did for the longest time was run clips.
Wow, I wasn't aware of that.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So I think there were 5 of us, and I was the only lady in the bunch. So it was a little testosterone heavy, but yeah, and it was the best gig and it was an 8-hour job. Like, what TV job is 8 hours a day? It's usually way more than that. And we had to look at screen material all day and make these clips. And then we did that. And then they later asked me to go out and do junkets. So I would go out to LA and do some junkets and get to write some junkets. And then I can't remember which came first. It was Comedy Channel or Comedy Central. One, and then we came the other. What's on now? Comedy Central or Comedy Channel?
I think it's Central now.
Comedy Channel, and they became Comedy Central, and then they went to HBO Downtown Productions and started doing their own productions. Jon Stewart and Alan Havey, and I went to work on the Alan Havey show. Really lucky. And wow. I wrote the guest segment. I wrote the interviews, the questions, and researched the guests. And sometimes we'd have 2 guests. Heavy hitters, fantastic guests. It was a great gig.
Wow. Do you remember when you were going through those? Hey, Joseph. Do you remember when you were going through those early tapes of comedians? Were there any like future superstars that you discovered that were unknown back then?
Yes. And you won't believe it if I tell you. Ray Romano.
Okay, from Queens.
Susie Essman.
From Middle Village, Queens.
Susie Essman. I remember just loving Susie Essman. Now, of course, I'm drawing a blank, but those are the ones that really stand out.
Yeah, Ray Romano. You know what's funny about Ray? He was a stand-up comedian, and then he did the Everybody Loves Raymond. But now, if you notice, he's doing a lot of like art house A pictures as like as a straight actor. He was in Scorsese's The Irishman, wasn't he?
Irishman.
Yeah, in a very not funny role. It's kind
He
of
was
cool.
great in The Irishman, I thought.
Yeah, and it's very cool that he's gone in a more diversified direction. Now, I know you're an absolutely fantastic musician, and you're a wonderful, wonderful stage actress. Tell me, which one do you prefer to do, and which one do you find more difficult to do?
Well, now I find stage acting so much more difficult, and I prefer to sing. I definitely prefer to sing, and I find that my acting has gone toward playwriting and so staying in the theater that way. Yeah, I prefer to sing. And again, very late in life, it came to me until around the time I met you, Dave. That's when I started singing with a big band, 18-piece big band. And honestly, the thrill of my life. I mean, there's nothing more exciting than like having that horn section that whole. It's incredible. It's just incredible. And
That's fantastic.
I miss it because I'm not with them anymore. I'm not over there anymore.
Dave, you know what this interview is starting to remind me of? One from a couple of years ago when, who was it? Donnie Most.
Donnie Most, Ralph Mouth from Happy Days.
He basically did the same thing, right? He went from acting to stage and then big band.
He's a big band singer, yeah. But
I didn't know he's a big band singer?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I have to look that up. Wow.
But I have to admit, Lisa is much prettier than Ralph. Much prettier. Sorry, Ralph. So tell us, I know that you just recently had some work done on the stage that you wrote. It was a one-act play. Am I correct? Or am I talking out of my bunghole?
Wait, I'm trying to think. Wait a minute. No, I had they did a reading.
Okay. My
Middletown
apologies.
Arts Center did a reading.
That's the one I'm talking about.
Yes. They did a reading of one of my plays.
Tell us about that particular play and how the reading went.
The reading was fantastic because it was a festival of one acts, and they picked five one act plays to do that night. And it's a great community center. Middletown Arts Center is just the best place. They have a gorgeous theater. It's in Middletown, New Jersey. And my play was the one, I call it my pandemic play. It was the one I wrote during the pandemic and inspired by when I found out they closed all the churches. And I started to wonder what it was like in those churches day in and day out. Was anybody attending to them? What was going on? And kind of morphed into the idea of the saints talking to themselves and most of them having no purpose during pandemic. And then two of them, which is Saint Corona, which is a real saint, and Saint Rocco, who was the patron saint of disease. And Saint Corona became the patron saint of pandemics. And they have a showdown in the church. So yeah, I did that, and I just started writing another full length. So I'm on my 8th play.
Wow.
You know, it just occurred to me, Scott. Do you play any kind of? Can you do jazz?
I mean, I can fake my way through just about any genre or style, but it's not something I wouldn't have any standards at my fingertips, unfortunately.
About two weeks ago, I was talking to Bill Sadler, who's a dear friend of the show, and he was telling me he wants to get a jazz band together to tour around New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. So
give him my number.
I got to put Lisa, Scott, and Bill together. You guys got to do some jamming together.
Who was that?
William Sadler.
Oh, he's
He's a bass player and a singer.
Player?
Yep. What do we need now? A drummer?
Me,
We
drummer.
got, what was that cat's? Alan.
Jax?
But,
Oh,
yeah,
Jax lives in Florida. That's
yeah, he's
out.
out of the
Hey,
picture. Yeah.
stop hating on Florida.
Oh God, it's so easy. Lisa, you got a good drummer? I'm putting together.
Oh, there's some great drummers. Yeah,
You know a good
I just Bill Goodwin just called me. I got to call him back. So
Is he a drummer?
he's the best.
Oh, well, there you go. Look at
He's
that.
fantastic
When
drummer.
you guys are the next Traveling Wilburys, remember who put this shit together.
Right.
I
I
put
would
the
never
wander.
forget
I put the
today.
wander. I put the Wandering Wannabes together, and we sold a whopping 3 records.
I'm still waiting for my kickback.
Did you, Lisa? What were you solely writing? Did you get involved in any of the directing or the picking the cast, or was it solely?
I directed one play, and I'm probably a terrible director. And then
Why? Why would you say that? Why?
Yeah.
I wonder why.
I feel like I lost control of the situation, and then the actors get pissed off at you. But the actors always get pissed off, even as an actor. Like there comes is the week that you just hate the director. Sorry, Dave. Dave,
No,
I
no.
never worked with Dave as a director, but no, there's always that, and then it blows over. But yeah, I don't think I'm gonna stay out of that from now on.
When
Leave
when
that.
it comes to me, every day is hate the director day.
Never.
Dun,
You
dun.
are the sweetest. You're the best. Come on.
Oh,
I don't
stop.
believe it. I don't believe it.
Oh, trust me. I mean,
Have you directed a play?
no. You asked me at one time to direct a play, and I was horrified. And the last thing I would ever want to do to say to you is no. But I just didn't know how to do it, and I was actually going to be on the road at that point. But I would never ever say no to you. But you scared the shit out of me asking me to direct a play. But thank you
Yeah, but
so much for doing that.
I have these really short one acts. I mean, that would be great. It's almost like honest. It's like directing a scene.
But I would suggest that you need something called talent to direct plays, and I'm totally devoid of that shit. I'm just a looks guy, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you just direct big movies. That's
No,
all.
no.
Apparently, she's never seen your movies.
Yeah, gee, thanks.
Oh, dang!
Oh.
Oh,
The guy has a raccoon family living on his face, and he's making fun of me.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Fair
Oh,
enough.
Fair enough.
Oh, if I didn't say that, you would have. No, never mind.
I would
Hi,
have said
Susie.
it myself. I would have said it myself. Hi, Susie. How are you?
Hi, Susie. Thank you for changing the subject.
well, yeah. Directing theater is a demanding thing. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I did it once in college because it was like a college class
You had
that I
to.
needed to learn. Yeah, I had to do. But I was intimidated to work with you on something stage related because you're just awesome.
Never.
Oh, well, you know what was cool? I don't know if you remember this, but maybe about, I don't know, 8 or 10 years ago, came down to your studios and did your radio show.
Oh, what Wild that one? Wild, you did a couple of you did my podcast.
Right, but then we did one down all the way in this wonderful antique building, and right over.
Yes, that was the podcast.
That
was and you saved me because I was upfront with you. It was the first podcast, and I forget who was supposed to be my guest, and they couldn't do it. And I called you and I said, I just had somebody drop out. Can you please? And you was so good, and you saved me. And it turned out to be such a great interview because that's Dave. And then later on, when I was at Wild FM. You came and you did my show there.
I remember that was in you had that whole big studio, and that was pretty awesome back then.
Yeah.
we were talking earlier about had we met before through David. I'm remembering now a radio or podcast show. Somehow I was.
That's it.
Yeah.
That was it.
That rings a bell. That this was Lisa. She's got a show, and this is going back about 4 or 5 years.
I think you were a guest. Yeah, I think you were a guest.
Oh no! Don't say that because if I see
I
what's
think he
talking about
called
getting
in
old and senile, I can't believe I wouldn't remember that. But it's
So
very.
between the three of us, we can't remember.
I could have swore, wasn't there a Halloween party, Lisa, that we literally sat at my dining room table till like
Yes!
2:00 in the morning? And
Yes.
Scott and Brian were there.
Brian was there.
And Libby,
Diana.
Libby and Matt, and you brought a tall gentleman.
Yes, I don't bring that tall
Oh, a tall
gentleman.
gentleman.
I think you were there with. That was the time you came, Scott. And you had like a Phantom of the Opera mask.
I wore the same mask every time I came. It's my only costume.
No, I do remember. I remember that now.
Right,
I remember that.
I think
Maybe
that's
that's
what it
why I remember
was.
it was the Phantom of the Opera.
Yes, and Scott and Brian had like a cowboy hat on and a cape.
Yes, he did.
Right? Yeah.
How
That
do
was
you
the night.
remember that?
That was the night you met. That's the night you met her.
What
Scott.
the hell was Brian with a cowboy hat and a
Yeah,
cape?
he wasn't Tut. Didn't he go as Tut one year?
Oh, that was the year before.
Okay, I wasn't at that one. I don't think. Yeah.
You weren't at the Tut one. You were at the weird cape and hat one.
What costume? What costume?
Yeah,
was
what
that?
was
was
that?
he? Just the cape hat guy?
When you're Brian O'Holler and you put anything.
He was just
on
being
it.
Brian.
He was just being Brian.
He was Brian in a cape and a hat.
There you go. He created his new character, Brian in a hat, like Cat in a Hat, Brian in a hat.
That's right.
So, Lisa, we're being asked, do you still have a podcast?
You know, I don't. I mean, I thought I did, and I apparently missed an email because the platform that was hosting it said that I didn't pay them, and they scrubbed everything, which is very upsetting.
Wow.
You know,
Like-
Joe, if you need somebody for the network who would be absolutely fantastic, Lisa right here would be wonderful for the network to
Hey,
have a show if she wants
We're
to do
always
one.
hiring.
Okay. So I'm really upset. They have to exist somewhere. They have to be somewhere. I mean,
How many episodes were there?
I think there were 12, maybe 15. No, I know. There were 12 or 15, but then the rest of them, like another 30 maybe, went up on Wild FM. Those are on video. Not video. What is this electronics thing that we live in? I don't know what it is.
Yeah, video
They're up on
cast.
that. So if I could get them transferred from that to audio, then I could maybe revive my career as a 8 million podcast host person. Like, we need more podcasts. There's not
Exactly what the
podcasts.
world needs is more
Yeah,
buffoons like us.
It's not oversaturated or anything. No, not at all.
You got to admit, the material on this show is way more original than come out of Hollywood.
Oh, no doubt. Well, I mean, seriously, we're on probably episode 150, I think. I don't know. I'm pulling from the air, and how many celebrities and Emmy winners, and it's
You know what's funny? We pull cool people that like the trendy talk shows wouldn't touch, but that's why they suck. I mean, when was the last time you saw the great Tom Holland on a talk show? Or the great John Biner on a talk show? Or the great Dick Cavett on a talk show? And we're the only show that had Vincent Price on it this year. That's very difficult to pull off.
Wait a second. Listen, I just made the worst mistake. I thought God forgive me, I thought Johnny Mathis was no longer with us. And I honestly, and then I found out he was.
It's so funny that you should bring that up. I actually saw Johnny Mathis in concert at Christmas time this past year.
Really?
Yeah. He's
I mean,
God, did you know he was still alive?
I would have not known either way, honestly. But he's up there. He's got to be up there.
It was, I wasn't sure he was alive, but by the time he got to caroling, I was pretty sure he was alive. Caroling.
he had a slight pulse then.
Yeah.
No, I'm not dissing. He's fabulous, but I feel like he's been quiet for so long. I haven't heard from him in like years and years and years.
Yeah.
I know, but in fairness, there are some people who have such an enormous catalog that they could kind of sit back on their laurels, and I would suspect that Johnny Mathis is one of those kind of people.
Sure.
Actor-director Jason Buterin. I've missed these faces.
Doesn't Jason have something big that he's working on right now? Is he working on a film?
He's working on a film with his son.
Oh,
that
awesome.
they wrote together, and it's pretty huge right now. And then we have Cheetah saying, I actually thought John Piner was
Whoa.
long gone as well.
Oh my God.
I'm glad he didn't say that last week. 'cause
Yeah,
that
right?
would've been
Yeah.
awkward.
And Kenneth saying Mathis is 88.
And he's still singing. Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
My dad sang right to the end, right to 95.
Wow.
That's
My
awesome.
father was quite something. He was in that Bennett crooner mold.
You know what's funny? My favorite musicians of all time, and you probably know this, Scott, by now, are all the old crooners. I mean, I was an enormous Bing Crosby fan. I think he's the greatest entertainer who ever lived. The fact that John Bino worked with Crosby blew my mind. I went back and watched him on YouTube with Crosby in his Christmas specials, and it was absolutely flabbergasting to see the guy that I literally just talked to hanging out and working with Bing Crosby.
And he does the best Bing Crosby impersonation, better
Yeah,
than
he
Bing
does.
Crosby.
Yeah.
So wait a minute, do you have John Biner's autograph? You have the other guy's autographs, Dave.
I don't have John Biner's autograph. Now I'm going to have to call up John and say, hey, can I have an autograph?
You have some pretty cool autographs, so
I think my two coolest are Bing Crosby and John Lennon. Those are probably my two coolest
Yeah,
autographs.
John, I would say so.
Yes, and it's on a John Lennon baseball card, so that's pretty cool.
There's a John Lennon baseball card.
Well, he didn't. It's not really.
Like the Beatles cards?
You're right.
Yeah.
It's a Beatles baseball card.
Okay.
I
Was,
don't know.
was it the black and
Trading
white?
card.
Was it black and white?
Yes, it's black and white.
It's probably from the Hard Day's Night. I think Hard Day's Night had bubblegum cards.
Yes, I think it's from like 1966, maybe something
Yeah.
around there.
Or hell, Hard Day's Night.
And, you know, I want to get a Nat King Cole autograph next, but I don't think I'm gonna. You know, why am I taking up all of Lisa's interview with my stupid banter? I apologize, Lisa.
No, this is, I'm completely entertained.
No, okay. I'm glad somebody is
I
because
feel like we're hanging out in your kitchen again on Halloween.
throwing pieces of bologna at Scott. Maybe that's why Scott doesn't remember. He was covered with bologna.
only half on the mask.
No, it's all back. It's all coming back now. It was the Halloween party, and we were talking about Lisa's show. You might have just done your interview with her might have been around that time, or no?
It might have been. It was I think that Halloween party was I mean, with COVID, everything is a blur. But COVID,
Everything.
yeah, I would suspect that Halloween party was around 2015, 16. So yeah, I think the last time I did your show, Lisa, we were talking about the enormous Wild West City convention,
Yes.
the Cowboy Show.
Yes.
So that was 2018, Scott. So it might have been October of 2018
I think
that
you're
we
right.
had the Halloween party, and earlier that month we had the Weekend of Fear at Wild West City.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
That's about the same time I met Dave.
Are you still doing those?
No,
Okay.
not happening. No.
Oh.
He says with fear and disgust.
Yes.
It takes
I can only imagine the prep work for that,
Oh,
and
God, I couldn't imagine.
nerve-wracking if somebody's going to cancel or.
See, now, if you could do that, Dave, you can direct a play in your sleep.
Oh,
Yeah,
there you
especially one act, Dave. It's
One
go.
act.
If it ever comes to fruition again that you need a director, I promise you here live on the air that I will do it if you ask me.
It's not a question of if I need a director. It's a question of that I want you to direct the play. I should write something for Scott, and you should direct it.
Oh,
There you go.
We just have to find a theater. That's all.
You know what's so funny? There's a beautiful, and I mean beautiful theater up here in Hawley, Pennsylvania. And I can't remember the name. And they've been begging me to put on a show forever.
Oh,
And
come on.
I was
a live show, like
a live
theater
show, a play. And
Wow.
it would literally be a professional show where we'd all get paid and
A real play. A real show.
a real show. And
I'm sending you a play. I'm sending you and Scott the play.
There you go.
okay.
Make it happen.
I wish I remembered the name of the theater. If you want to look it up when the show's over, it's the only staged theater in Hawley, Pennsylvania. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's from the 1940s, and it's all wood. And they have stage actors there now, but they've been looking to bring like a professional crew in to do like a run of shows. So
Say the name of the town again, please.
Hawley, Hawley. And I'm going to kick myself because I literally pass this theater all the time, and I can't remember for the life
Is
of me.
it the
what
Ritz
name is.
Playhouse?
That's it. The Ritz
The
Playhouse
Ritz Playhouse?
in Hawley, yes.
Okay.
So if you guys really want to do a show, let's do a show this December, November, December in Hawley, and I will arrange for all that stuff to happen. If you guys really want to do a show.
Okay. Well, I will. I will. I will look and see what kind of stuff they do and send something of that ilk. And,
No pressure.
Yeah.
Well, I think I don't want to be a wet blanket, but I'm definitely
stage
not. I'm not a theater actor.
Well, they can have a
Come
live
on,
band.
Spot.
I'm serious. No, I'm not kidding. I mean, I respect it tremendously, but I'm not one for the boards. I'm really all about film, honestly.
You know what's so funny? I was just watching Taxi the other day, and there's this great episode where Reverend Jim is going to get his driving test.
Yes.
And one of the greatest scenes in sitcom history. And I was saying to myself, God, I want to reshoot this with Scott Schiaffo as Reverend Jim.
Whoa! I guess that's better than being compared to. Once upon a time, I was compared to Michael Richards, and I wasn't pleased.
I don't see
But that
Michael
was at
Richards
a
at all.
party. No, it was actually we had gone to see Cabaret with a group of people.
Mhm.
Paint you a quick picture. And I actually looked quite different back then anyway. But somebody turns to me I had never met and said, you really do look like Kramer.
Oh, jeez.
And I was like, yeah, thank you. And I don't know. I was pretty insulted by it because I didn't even know the person. And let's face it, if you compare somebody, I mean, I love Michael Richards. He's hilarious. But if somebody says you look alike, he's not. He's a goofy, wacky-looking dude. And I was like, well, thank you. It kind of put a damper on my night. But I don't know why I'm sharing such a stupid story. I'm sorry.
You know what's so funny? People have told me throughout life that I look like two people, and I can't find that those two people look so different from each other that it's horrifying. I've been told I look like Conan O'Brien, which I don't get at all, and I've been told I look like Dolph Lundgren. So how can you look like Conan O'Brien or Dolph Lundgren?
Right. I think maybe it's the jawline, but I don't know the answer to that question.
And where was it? Where did this conversation take place? In a bar? At a rehab?
In outer space.
I can see a little bit of Conan without facial hair,
Okay.
maybe. But
Yeah, Conan's a pasty little dude, man.
I think I look like Huey Lewis, if anything. No? No? Okay.
Nah,
I tried.
don't know.
I'm thinking. I'm
just
still
thinking
thinking.
of Scott doing a live play and then having to be concerned about him sadlering himself. Sorry. Yeah, I totally ruined
well,
it.
no, I really respect the craft, and I had done some community theater a zillion years ago just to get a little taste and some chops. But I love what happens between actors and the camera. I really love film.
No, absolutely.
And it requires I respect it. It requires a tremendous amount of diligence and physical prowess as well. There's no, once you go and you're in, and that's it. There's no
Stopping.
I'm used to waiting around for 6 hours to say 2 lines, and I'm kind of fine with that.
I had
Hurry up and wait.
I had 3 lines in a show that was on Broadway, and we lasted 1 performance.
What is it?
It was a play called Is There Life After High School?
I remember that.
And it lasted 1 performance, and I was, that's the extent
Did it
of
really last 1 performance?
1 performance, 1 Saturday night, and we were all.
Now,
So
if you're
is
gonna
that
put-
the shortest running show in Broadway history?
No, there's a whole bunch of us losers who only lasted 1 performance.
if you're going to do this play thing, you should definitely get O'Halloran because he is a fine stage actor.
The guy lives next door, and he doesn't, he gives me the finger when he walks by, so I'm not,
But he's a really fine stage actor.
Oh, he's a great I saw him in A Few Good Men with Bob Senkowitz, who was on.
Yeah, I saw that same show.
And he
I
was,
saw that show. Were you at the show where they had to finish the show in the parking lot?
because of the fire, smoke. No,
Yeah.
I
Are
was
you
at.
serious?
Yeah.
Where
Can you
was
imagine
that?
Where was that, Dave? You saw it when it didn't hit.
Was it Montclair? New Jersey?
Well, I don't know if it was Montclair. I think it was some Monmouth, somewhere down.
Some New Jersey place.
Yeah. They were doing it in a school theater somewhere, and the fire marshal or something came in. So they did the second act, or like the last whatever, outside. They brought everything outside, and they did it outside. Is that nuts?
No,
Well, I hope it
that's
wasn't freezing outside.
No, it was quite warm. It was the summer or spring. It was the opposite. It was actually quite
They
warm.
literally brought the house down. They set the place on fire.
No.
They
And
did.
the show must go on. That's
It
it.
clicked. It really rocked. They did a great job outside. And considering they had to move the show outside because for whatever reason we couldn't go back in. That was really weird. But yeah, he's a very powerful stage actor. Brian.
He is. So Lisa, tell us a little bit. You have a book out, don't you?
I have 2 books. As
Okay.
a matter of fact,
Wow.
hold on. Well, I wrote 2 children's books. I'm writing the 3rd one now.
Okay.
It's a series called the Mr. Penguin series, and the first book is Mr. Penguin, and the second book is Mr. Penguin and Jelly Bean.
Oh, sweet.
And yeah,
Where can people find these?
they can find it on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles, and they could find it at Thunder Road Books in Spring Lake, New Jersey, or they could find it at River Road Books in Fairhaven, New Jersey.
Sweet. What is the process? And then this really is something that intrigues me. What is the process like to write a book for children?
It's like this. It's like,
Ask a stupid question.
I guess it's like anything else. I'm guessing that I write. I just picture myself sitting there like this for days and days and days and days.
No, Lisa. Best answer ever.
Well, did you do an Audible? Did you read it? Do you have it on Audible?
I did the one Audible for the first one. And then in the second one, I did the whole thing myself, but I want to have the different characters. So there's 3 characters, so I want to use 3 different voices when I record.
Awesome. I would figure you would have done the Audible for at least one of them.
You've done some voice acting too, haven't you?
Yeah, I love. That's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. A lot of looping for films and stuff. I love doing that. Right, looping's a lot of fun. But yeah.
For those who don't know what looping is, can you explain that?
Looping is when, okay, let's say, in what was that movie? The movie I looped. I'm thinking of one when I actually played the sneeze of a very famous woman sneezed, and they had to heighten her sneeze, and I was brought in to sneeze. But things beyond that, crowd. If there's a crowd scene, they'll bring in so many voices to reenact voices or yelling or shouting or cheering in a crowd, things like that. But we're going to be replaced by AI, so
I don't want to
worry
hear it.
about all that.
I know that tons of people in the industry watch this show, and I could say this wholeheartedly. If you are looking to cast somebody, give Lisa a call, because she's outstanding. She's incredibly professional. She's a wonderful actress. If you're doing something on stage, of course, look for her to be on your stage shows, because she's just really, really fantastic. And what the hell else was I going to say? I'm getting old and senile, and the show, we're at the 55-minute. Lisa, you made it through this show. I can't believe it.
I'm still alive.
And she didn't leave.
And she might actually still be talking to me by the end of this show. I can't. AI is a bunch of crap. I will not say AI is a bunch of crap, because me and Scott shot this wonderful, wonderful, very, very heavy scene filled with a lot of gravitas for my new film, Full Moon Fever, in a park in Jersey. What park was it, Scott? Okay, that's
Not
that part
gonna
that Scott just said.
Oh wait,
The one
Van
tree.
Son, Paramus, New Jersey.
Okay, we shot a great scene there. Oh, there it is. And unbeknownst to us, that while we were shooting it, the boom mic was picking up. There seems to be either an airport or very, very heavy air traffic around.
Oh no.
So when we got it back to edit it and put the film together, it's like Scott would be talking and it'd be like, and then I'd be like talking and it'd be like, shh, and then Scott would be talking, and instead of bringing Scott and myself back into a studio to reloop this scene,
Loop or ADR.
or ADR or additional recording, I took the master file of the sound after it was edited and ran it through an AI program. And the AI program literally rebuilt Scott and I's voice, and it's totally pristine, beautifully clear. So I know people don't like AI, and I totally get it. But sometimes in situations like this, it actually was quite handy. It was quite a wonderful,
And it saved you
tool.
a ton of freaking money.
It saved me a ton of money.
Be honest,
Scott-
did you replace me with a computer?
No, it's still you.
It's still
No-
me?
Yeah, no computer's going to be able to regenerate that handsome stud.
I mean,
look
what
you
Scott's using right now with the de-aging program, I need to find out what that is.
Well, you guys are
Yeah, it's
moaning
called
about
Just for
being
Men.
older, and I'm the oldest cat on the screen, and they constantly moan about being old. And I got like 10 years on both of you.
But you know what? I almost wouldn't consider that AI, because they were taking, the two actors, the two voices, and recreating it, the same people. Whereas they're replacing, they want to use it to replace, like this whole
Right.
thing with hiring 5 extras and then making
Using them.
500 extras out of them,
No,
and
that's
then
what I'm saying.
using them in perpetuity.
Right, they're looking to scan people.
This brings up a good point, which is what we're all experiencing now is the strike.
Right.
Doing all the work.
And we haven't mentioned it. Nobody's mentioned it, and we're all in the same business. But
Well,
I'm kind of not. But that's a whole other story.
sure you are.
Well, I'm not. It's public that I'm not in the union, so I'm not currently union. I stand by my brothers and sisters, but I'm not in the union right now.
Do you not want to be, or you're on a leave?
Well, no, I mean I've been eligible forever because I've been working for quite a long time, but I was getting really much better independent contracts and work that way than in SAG films. So whenever I did get a SAG gig, there would be a waiver or whatnot. So, when you're in a film like Clerks, which became one of the biggest indie films of that era,
Of all time, be honest with
Yes,
yourself.
of all
Scott.
time.
Yeah.
well, the point is getting cast in other indie films, I had a leg up over union people. But in the union, I would have been a really small fish in a giant sea. But in the non-union world, thanks to Clerks, I was a much bigger fish, so I could get an independent contract. So that's how I ended up kind of skirting the union, not because I have any issues with the union. And all the actors that came up, certainly my age range, the union was like, whoa,
Yeah.
you couldn't wait to be SAG. But then what happened in the 90s and what happened with me, all of a sudden I realized that I was getting pretty cool contracts. And I stumbled into character acting on film because I loved it, but I was a musician from day one, and I drank my way out of my band. So I said, you know what? I was in my late 20s. I'm going to go back to acting audition. And then I got super lucky by getting the Julie's Gum guy. But I was really doing the music thing mostly until I got the Clerks gig.
That's an incredible story that you were able to avoid it for so long. I mean, and work.
Well, yeah, and of course, there's a lot to it. I was drinking and drugging myself off the planet. So I was happy to get these independent gigs where I had to show up 3 or 4 days, I had it in the rider that after the martini shot, I got paid in cash. And you take an addict with cash on the Lower East Side, and then it would be a week later, and I'd still be in the Lower East Side with no money. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, I'm glad. I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you're well.
Thank you. And on that note, I'm no angel, but I don't drink anymore. I haven't drank in 16 years, 17 years.
Good for you.
And the only thing I'll say about the whole thing is that I look at film, directing, acting, and writing as an art, and I never mix art with money.
Well, and good for you, because if you're able to swing that, that's great.
Yes, so I'm going to just leave it at that. I look at it as something totally like, you know what really frustrates me? We'll end it on this note to show. Robert Downey Jr., the guy has a career, he throws it away. Then actually my dear friend Jon Favreau, who I went to Queens College with, gives him a call and says, "Hey buddy, will you be Iron Man for me?"
Right.
The MCU totally puts this guy back on the map. Literally pays him close to $1 billion with a B with all the movies he does. And what does he do to thank him after his run of playing Tony Stark? He goes on TV shows and says MCU is his films as Iron Man aren't real movies, aren't real art, because he's trying to whore his Oppenheimer film now. And when you look back in retrospect, you're like, you weren't saying these things about playing Iron Man when you were making your $1 billion. Why are you doing this kind of crappy shit now?
He's recently disparaged the comic. The
last 2 weeks, every interview he has done for his new Oppenheimer film, he has gotten, and I'm sure Joe, because Joe is a pop culture crazy about this kind of stuff. He goes out of his way now to disparage the MCU and all those folks.
But he rarely brings up Dr. Dolittle for some reason.
Or Sherlock Holmes.
Or Sherlock Holmes
Yeah.
1 and 2.
Yeah. So.
Well, he was sublime as Chaplin.
Well, that was an A picture, you know. But and that was before the whole MCU thing. So I mean, it's all kind of unsavory to me. They're on so many levels, but
Yeah. Are you going to see Oppenheimer, or are you going to strike it? You going to boycott Oppenheimer?
No, I don't boycott anything. I don't
Okay.
like that.
Now I really want to see it.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely gonna. I'm probably gonna see it at home, but I will see it eventually. I don't think there's any. I mean, the last Indiana Jones was such a letdown. I was so bummed out because that was like the big summer movie I wanted to see.
Yeah.
Dr. Dolittle was cat poo. Okay.
Says Mr. Cheetah.
Yes.
Is that wait? Now was he in Eddie Murphy's Doolittle?
No. He created his own. It was after Iron Man and everything.
Yeah, it's actually when it was. I think it was unnoticed because it came out during COVID, right? Like right in the heart of COVID.
Oh,
Yeah. But I mean, I find that kind of spineless to take. I mean, what do you take? Like 14 movies of MCU money.
Jeez, wow, really?
And then at the end, I mean, they literally revived his career. The thing he did before Iron Man was the "I Want Love" video by Elton John. And if you watch that video, I mean, I wouldn't have hired Robert Downey after that
I
video.
wasn't even aware of that.
Yeah.
So-
Did you see the documentary he did about his
your
dad?
father?
Yeah.
Oh man. See
You
now,
gotta see it, Dave.
yeah, I'm trying not to get too involved in this because I have a whole other.
No, I know you really like the guy, and I'm not
Oh,
trying to.
I had to more than that. I mean, I really, I followed him forever. And
I just find you have to admit, even as somebody like, if there's somebody like I adore a lot of people who are like really rotten people, so I get it. But if you have to admit, after all this, to come out and badmouth the MCU after all that, it's kind of.
I'm surprised. It's not great to badmouth any of your past
Yeah.
catalog. There's a lot of things I appeared in that I'm not,
Yeah.
but I would say nothing before I would say bad things.
No, I think it's bizarre, especially if those projects made you a billionaire. That's the way I look at it. But that's all I know. Yes, Ryan Reynolds did the same thing with Green Lantern.
See now, if a cat is going to say that he, like Clooney knocks himself all the time for his Batman, but he's not knocking Batman movies.
Right. Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
there's a difference.
Just totally.
And Downey Jr. is definitely
Downey Jr. is knocking the movie. It's not his performance. He was saying
he's knocking the universe.
Yeah, he's saying it was, what did he call it? Content? It wasn't. He didn't call them stories. He said they were just content. I was like,
Content, yes. And I mean, George Clooney's still involved with the DCU. I'm not going to spoil anything.
I thought that was clever. That was fantastic. You know, that movie was better. You know how I pan superhero movies all the time. I thought that was a fun comic book movie.
Oh, so did
I
I.
don't know why nobody gave it any love. We're talking about the Flash movie.
Yes.
All right, Lisa.
Poor Lisa, we're losing Lisa because we're geeking out on, and I'm not even really, I'm not a comic book movie guy.
She's fading fast.
By the
No,
way, Lisa,
I
are you working out or something? You look buff, like you're like.
She's got some guns.
She's got some
me?
guns. Yeah,
you.
You.
Every time you
lift, I'm like jealous. You got bigger arms than I do.
I've been swimming. That's
okay.
all. That's it. And writing plays.
Dang!
I gotta go write. I love you guys. I hope I see you all again. I hope I see you at the theater. And thank you for having me on. I'm honored to be between John Biner and Dick Cavett.
Yes.
I mean, who's luckier than me? Huh?
Hey,
It would
Lisa,
probably be a lot more fun 50 years ago, but sure.
if folks wanted to follow you on social media and check out your projects, where can they find you?
Oh, I'm all over Facebook. I'm just like shamelessly promoting stuff on Facebook, so they could do that.
Okay.
Or Instagram, I guess. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lisa Ellex. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank
Good
you,
night,
Lisa.
boys.
Much love. I'll
Thank
talk to you
you.
soon.
It was a
Be
pleasure.
well.
That was fun. I mean, we totally were going off the rails a few times.
Oh,
but
yes.
That was great.
We never run late, so we owe it to ourselves for once.
Yes.
Wasn't Lisa a sweetheart?
She was.
She's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Thank you. I'm waiting for this guy to say something like, and Mr. Hush sucks.
Huh.
I didn't show that. Stop.
No.
Just move on. No, I'm kidding. Wait a minute. Wasn't that the cover to another movie? And
It was. It was all part of my evil plan. apparently worked miracles.
you think?
So, Uncle Scott, you got anything cooking that we need to tell anybody about, or we're good?
No, we're really good. I'm just at this point, I'm happy to be anywhere.
And
Been
you
a
know
rough
what?
couple of weeks.
I want to share with everybody. Grunkle Scott has been sending me over musical pieces that I've been requesting for Full Moon Fever.
Ooh.
He's doing some amazing work. Thank you, Mr. Schiaffo. So,
Oh, I'm really glad that they're working because I want to see you
the one carnival.
realize
theme,
your
I mean, the pieces you sent me are fantastic, and the specific piece that I asked for, you did. You made it unbelievably eerie.
So, do you think we can get like a 20-second clip for next week's show?
Sure.
Cool.
I'm gonna say, hey, Dick Cavett, wait a minute.
oh
Let me
Absolutely.
show-
And
let
you got to
me-
play it with Dick Cavett present.
Yes, and that'll be the shortest interview in the history. It'll be shorter than my Broadway run of Is There Life After High School?
That one night stand.
The one that's. I got
well, we really got to.
Listen, it didn't get shit canned because of my 3 lines. I'll tell you that much. It wasn't like the show was great, but that 20-year-old guy who said his 3 lines just fucked it up for everybody.
We do want to thank Lisa for coming on and
Absolutely.
sharing. She had so much going on. I mean, this is a singer, a writer, a playwright, a radio host, a podcaster,
An
a voice
actress.
actor. You can get children's books,
Yep.
children's audio book, Audible, which is cool, very cool.
And we were in each other. I think Heart was her first movie too. So I think we were in each other's first movies. That's pretty cool.
Which is available on YouTube. Go
Which is
check it out.
available on YouTube. After you watch Lisa's part, just turn it off because it's.
So, Dave, will we recognize you in this film? You have
If you
a few
can
seconds on
envision,
there?
if you can envision what a 15, there's a fight at the end with Brad Davis and Billy Costello, and you will see some. There's some like mob guys who they keep cutting between, and there's a punk kid who starts with a mob guy and they start pushing. That's me. The
Oh,
tall,
wow.
skinny looking. It's not Buscemi's the mob guy that's staring at the mob guy who starts the trouble with me. But I got to see, back then, like I had no idea who Buscemi was. I had,
Well,
I'll be honest with you,
Nobody did.
Yeah, he was nowhere near the Buscemi he would
and I
become.
had no idea who Brad Davis was, to be honest with you. I was there because I was a crazy sports guy when I was a kid. And the guy Brad Davis was fighting was Billy Costello. And a family friend of mine, the late, great Chris Steinbrenner, who was a wonderful, wonderful horror writer. And he was a casting director. And he also was the program director at WPIX, who used to put on King Kong and Mighty Joe Young on Thanksgiving, and did all those wonderful. He was the guy who brought the Yule-log to WPIX. He had an unbelievable. He was one of our dearest family friends who grew in Middle Village, where I grew up, and he got me the part as the punk-ass kid in Heart, and the part in Hero at Large with John Ritter. And the part in Brighton Beach Memoirs, where we shot that at Eddie's Sweet Shop in Middle Village, Queens. It was it was all very, 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 very minimal parts, but it was fun as a kid to get into some of those things.
I mean, what an experience as a kid.
Yeah, to see how these things. But Joe, in all honesty, if you took all 3 scenes together from those 3 minutes, it would probably be 2.5 minutes total for all 3 movies that I actually appeal into film. So
regardless,
I was barely a glorified extra, but it was cool to be able to do that kind of stuff. Lisa has an actual, like, a big part in Heart, which is pretty cool. With that being said, I want to thank everybody for watching this lovely train wreck of a show. I want to thank Lisa for joining us tonight. Next week, the legendary Dick Cavett will be joining us. I've been told he's going to join us, but people are acting wanky with everything that's going on in Hollywood, so I will... directly from him, he's joining us, but there are other people involved, so we'll cross our fingers and hope that Mr. Cavett will be joining us. He's going to join us the minute that he can. So,
is that way? He's out? Did you say he's out west?
Yes. So we will be on the air next week with another icon. So I'm super excited about that. Ladies and gentlemen, Dick Cavett will be joining us. And there's like everybody who's our age, who's younger than us, is like, who the hell is he talking about? But trust me, Joe being one of them. But trust me, it's an icon of.
John
Byner,
I've done research. I mean, just because I didn't know who he was, I've done
it's
research.
Funny. I love getting these type of interviews on here because
not everybody's doing them, and
these people
they're
I
icons.
adored them when I was a kid, and having John last week on, I never actually knew he worked with Crosby,
Right?
who's literally like God to me, and I went back and he was telling us in the green room, and then he told us in the show that he did that whole skit where he was an innkeeper and Bing comes up to him. I don't know if you guys got to watch that on YouTube.
I have not.
But it was, I mean, anybody who's watching, check out John. Just type in John Byner and Bing Crosby on YouTube to see some just amazing stuff. Well, with that being said, I want to thank Lisa Ellex for joining us tonight. I want to thank you, Mr. Schiaffo, for always being my kind and generous and wonderful wingman. And without you, Joe Ridgely, this show doesn't happen. So thank you very, very much.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I obviously got the job because I show up every week, but thank you.
No, you got the job because you're super talented and you make this road pizza somehow presentable.
Well,
Don't sell yourself short. The show doesn't happen without you.
I appreciate that. And everybody, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you go over to David Lee Madison's The End of the Night on Facebook. Give it a like and subscribe. And as always, please go to the Indie Escape Network. Hit the like, subscribe, and all that good stuff on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram.
Oh,
That's way
actually,
too many
one more
things.
thing before we go. One more thing. I want to thank Emmett Garnham at Haven for Heroes because yesterday
That's
we had the super lovely and super talented Marianne Hagen do a signing at Haven for Heroes. I want to thank everybody who came out yesterday. It was a fantastic event. It was wonderful. I want to thank people who supported the event, some people who got some cool Full Moon Fever merch way before anybody else did. And thank you, everybody who came out to that. It was just fantastic.
And Full Moon Fever is still on track for October?
Full Moon Fever will definitely, 100%, be out before Halloween. You can take that to the bank. With that being said, thank you, everybody. We will see you next week. And remember, no man is a failure who has friends. Good night, everybody.